Alright, hello people, I'm the dude and this will be my second monthly rant for May. I was out for 3 weeks or so, so it kind of piled up. I could have made it all in one video, but the video had been like 3 hours long or something. So I'm going to split it up into these two different videos for May. Let's see, we'll start with the new stuff again. Before Midnight, I looked it up. It's a chick flick with the lady from American Werewolf in London, which has a really great scene where she's trying to comfort the guy when she tells him he's a vampire by getting topless, straddling him, and letting him grope her. Really great scene, loved it. And I think Ethan Hawke is the guy in it. The guy from Gattaca, which is probably the only movie he's ever been in that I actually liked. I can't think of another one. But Gattaca kicked ass. Ethan Hawke, Jude Law, Uma Thurman. Really good movie. But yeah, this is a chick flick, and does not interest me. That'd be the bottom line. The East, I thought at first that was Emma Watson, but it's not. It looks like a made-for-TV B movie. The only real standout for this particular movie is the Juno girl. What the hell is her name? I've already forgotten. Ellen Page, that's right. She's also in that roller skating movie. A bunch of really weird movies that are kind of, I don't know how to describe it. They flew under the radar for most people, but for other people they were classics, you know, hits, whatever you want to call it. So, there's that. Ellen Page is in this. Into Darkness, going to talk about that in the rant portion. The same for Fast and the Furious 6. The Hangover 3, so many people loved Hangover Part 1. I thought it was okay. I didn't think it was amazing by any means, not even close to amazing. And the second one I thought was just too much of the same. It had a couple of good jokes, but the rest of it was just retread garbage. And then this one, I have no interest at all in watching it in the slightest. I will not see this. Maybe when it gets to TV, when it's on like HBO or something and there's nothing else on, I might watch some of it. But yeah, thoroughly uninterested. Games, Velocity Ultra, probably some kind of rhythm game, never heard of it. Metro Last Light, I didn't really like Metro 20XX, whatever the hell the numbers were. It had a good atmosphere, and it had okay sound design, but that was really it. Didn't like the gameplay, hated the guns, they all felt weak. The enemies were lame, if I remember right, their AI was terrible. The characters really didn't go anywhere. There was a couple of them that stuck with you throughout the story, but they weren't overly interesting. They had a couple of good lines, but, you know, as far as characters go, they weren't that memorable. You know, I didn't like that one. And because this one is a direct sequel as far as I can tell, it's just more of the same, I can guarantee you I won't like this one either. Metro 20, whatever the hell it is, got pretty damn good reviews, and I just didn't see it. I played it about, I want to say somewhere between halfway and 3/4 of the way through, and I just completely lost interest. The game was not sucking me in. I did not want to come back for more. And I probably played it way longer than I should have. Incredible Adventures of Van Helsing, I haven't heard of it. Haven't heard anything about it, didn't look it up, I have no idea. Call of Juarez, Gunslinger. Bound in Blood was a badass game. Call of Juarez, Bound in Blood. Let's see what the score was for that, I'm curious. That game kicked ass. Really good gunplay. The enemies love to swarm you and surround you and attack you from different angles. The story was actually pretty good. It went places. The characters had growth over the story. They had conclusion by the end of the story. Things happened. It was fun. I liked it. I liked Bound in Blood quite a bit. The critics gave it about an 8. And it doesn't say what the users gave it for some reason. Let's see. They give it about an 8. Okay, so yeah, I'll go with that. About an 8. Yeah. Really good game. Plus you had the two different brothers, and they were constantly at each other's throat. They have like completely different views on what should be done, how things should be handled. I liked the ballsy like pistol wielding brother as far as his personality, but as far as playing, I liked the one with the rifle because range was amazing in that game. The rifle was just so damn good. But yeah, it was a really good game. I'll probably check out this new one because that Bound in Blood was so good. I've already forgotten what it's called. Gunslinger. Okay. Yeah, I'll probably check this one out. Although I just saw that it's arcade. That probably means it's stripped down as all hell. And has nothing to do with Call of War as far as like the series. So, I don't know. Now that I've seen it's arcade, I don't know. We'll have to see. Thunderwolves. I just looked this up 2 days ago. It looks interesting, but it also looks very, very simplistic. Doesn't look like there's much to it. It's kind of this top-down, you're in a helicopter, you're flying around. You don't control vertically, you don't control moving up and down, you just control side to side. And you basically, rotate around a city area and blow things up. It looks okay. I don't know, I'd have to try it. It looks like it also would wear out its welcome really quickly. Like I said, it doesn't look like there's much to it. It's just you've got like a machine gun, you've got some rockets, you fly around the city and you blow shit up. That could work, it just depends. I don't know. TV, yeah, Mad Men. Everyone knows about Mad Men by now. I wasn't loving it. I watched the first season and some of the other seasons and just wasn't really hooking me. But plenty of people I know love it, so what do I know? I have no idea. Behind the Candelabra. I have no idea. Is that Matt Damon? That kind of looks like Matt Damon. Although it's very small and blurry. I don't know. Orphan Black, haven't heard anything about it. Marin, haven't heard anything about it. Smash, haven't heard anything about it. I don't know about these last three at all. Marling. Laura Marling has a really interesting voice. She sounds a lot like Norah Jones, that style. And she's got some good songs. I've heard a couple of her songs. I can't name them right now. I listen to too much music to memorize it all, but she's got some good songs. Mount Kimby, I've never heard of them. Coco Rosie, never heard of her. The Pastels. The Pastels are interesting. They've got like a... what is the word for it? Kind of like alt-rock, but early alt-rock. Like 80s sound to them, even though they're kids. They're two kids that are in the band. Really interesting sound to them. At the very least, worth listening to, because they're not like everyone else. There's something different. Yeah, interesting. Tricky. The first time I heard Tricky was the song Overcome, which kicks massive ass. One of the few songs, like, I could list probably about 100 songs or so, maybe a little bit more, out of all the songs that have ever been created that I've listened to, where I can listen to them over and over and over again. There's maybe like 100, something like that-ish. This is one of them. Tricky Overcome. That song just kicks ass. I can leave it on repeat. And this new album, I checked it out, I want to say 2 weeks ago. The one that I ended up keeping off this album, the one I liked the best, was If I Only Knew. I think it's called something like that, but it's pretty damn good. The rest of the album is good, but it's not really memorable, or at least it wasn't for me. I didn't want to keep the whole album or anything like that. It's not that kind of album, but it had a couple of good songs. He's really good at like this smooth, slick thing. I don't even know how to describe it, where he's got really kick-ass vocals from, they're all female singers. I don't think he's ever had a male singer. But he follows a formula, but it's always a little bit different, and it's always, at the very least, good. Maybe not great, but it's all good. So yeah, you might want to check that out. Let's see, so that's all the new stuff. And on to the stuff I've actually tried. We'll start with the bad. The Last Stand. I didn't see this when it first came out because I had no interest. The only reason I watched it, I want to say like a week and a half ago, is because someone I knew wanted to watch it. This and the Stallone movie, what is it called? He's like this mobster hitman guy, and he's basically just out for revenge, killing a bunch of fucking people. He grabbed an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie and a Stallone movie, and he's like, let's compare them, versus that kind of thing. Stallone versus Schwarzenegger. Neither one of them were really that great, honestly. This is actually pretty correct right here, 54, about a 5. I'd give it a little bit lower. I'd probably give it about a 4, but that's pretty close. This is way too high. This wasn't even Schwarzenegger. They could have replaced him with anyone. He wasn't trying. He was just going through the fucking motions. There weren't any great one-liners. He was half-assing it. There's no other way to put it. He was half-assing it. And Knoxville's in this. Johnny Knoxville from Jackass. They gave him a couple of decent lines that were so-so as far as how funny they were, but not enough. I mean, he should have been the spotlight, him and Schwarzenegger, and he really wasn't. He was just another character. So yeah, there weren't any good action scenes except for like the very last one, the showdown where all the bad guys show up. That one was okay, but it wasn't a good movie, man. I mean, how do you fuck up a Schwarzenegger action movie? This is how. You know, it's like he's not even there. It's like he's a zombie, you know, just reading through his lines. I don't know, whatever. It wasn't great. Let's just put it that way. It wasn't great. And in case you're looking for a story, there's not one. It went nowhere. Bad guys show up. Schwarzenegger rounds up a bunch of retards. They group up and they fight the bad guys. That's the entire story. So, yeah. I'd say about a 4 from the dude. Let's see. Sang Freud. Sang Freud I really, really wanted to like. It's very rare that I anticipate a game. In fact, I actively go out of my way not to anticipate games because they almost always let me down. This is case in point. But, yeah, it looks like it had a really nice style to it. It had its own feel, its own charm, or whatever you want to call it, its own thing. And I'm really big into strategic games, and that's what this is. You set up traps. Enemies funnel in from different areas, kind of like tower defense, but more traps than towers. And they funnel in, and you have to run around using your character to attack them and use the traps to defeat them. It's all about timing and positioning and all this stuff. It had a really cool concept. And like I said, the feel of the game was really cool. It's like set in Canada and sometime in the past, like in the 1800s or something. And it looked like it could have been great. It really did. And then I started playing it. And it just fell apart. I mean, fundamental things are wrong in this game. Fundamental, like basics, are wrong in this game. I think the biggest problem I had, the one that it was the nail in the coffin for me, got about halfway through the game, 50% or so, and then I didn't want to play it anymore. The biggest problem was there's no targeting system. You cannot choose targets. I've tried. There's no way to switch as far as a button, and I've tried using directional keys and then attacking to pick targets. It doesn't work. As far as I can tell, it's just whichever enemy is closest to you. But even that doesn't seem to be true some of the time. It's just random. It's just random who you attack, which wouldn't matter if this wasn't a strategic game, but it is. There are priority targets. There are targets that are, something that's low health, that's a danger, that does a lot of damage. You want to finish it off. Or there's these targets about halfway through the game that show up that start healing. They fully heal targets that they cast on. And the problem with that is some of the bigger enemies take forever to kill. So your only real option there is to either kill the high health target, finish it off quick, which is really hard to do, or, which is what I wanted to do, kill the healers. Kill them so they can't heal. The problem with that is you can't choose targets. Oh my god. And they all run into melee range. So they're all in melee range, all surrounding you, swarming you, right? And you can't target the healer to kill him. So what ended up happening is you attack it like random. You hit random targets, and they've got a little bit of health gone, and the healer just heals them up before you can finish anyone off. It's so irritating. I can't describe how annoying that is. The level where you get 3 shamans for the first time. Oh my god, I was pulling my hair out. One healer is bad. But sometimes you can just luck your way through it. 3 healers healing each other? No. You have to be able to choose targets. And to make it worse, that's not the only problem. It's not just the targeting. There's hit detection is off. I can't tell you how many times I swing the axe right at something's face and they take no damage. And they're not interrupted and they rip my face off. I can't tell you how many times that happened. And what's even worse is collision detection is horrible. I'll be moving towards an enemy and do a swing. My swing animation will start, and the enemy will like bounce around me and fly like 5 feet behind me, and the swing will miss, even though I swung right at their face. I mean, there's just so many, core gameplay elements that are just wrong with this game. It's just painful. It really is. I don't know how else to put it. I really wanted to like the game. It wasn't in the cards. It wasn't possible for me to like it. One of the other irritations was the enemies all have really high attack priority. In other words, if they swing and you swing, their swing wins out. That wouldn't matter if it was like a couple of them at a time, and you could use positioning on them and that kind of thing. Sometimes you'll have like 8 of them, 9 of them, 10 of them on you at once. When there's that many enemies and they all have high attack priority, you're not going to get an attack off. At that point, the only chance you have to survive is to use traps. You have to use traps to kill them. This is the only choice. So yeah, it's another irritation. They all have extremely high attack priority, which is just exceedingly irritating. Another one of the minor problems, not a huge problem, but a minor problem, most of the enemies are the same. You get regular werewolves, you get grand werewolves, which are just werewolves with more health that hit harder. You get Maken, which are werewolves with another name. And then you get regular wolves, which, you know, like wolves you see in real life. They come at you in packs. Let's see, you get the shamans, who, they're the only ones in the game that can cast spells. They can heal, they can drop little meteors on your head, and they can teleport. And then the last type of enemy is these little fire guys. They're basically about the same strength as wolves. The only difference is they have a ranged attack. They can spit these little fireball things at you. That's about it for the enemies in the game. And like I said, all the werewolves are basically interchangeable. So that's, what, 4 different types of enemies? That's pretty pathetic. It wouldn't have been bad if there weren't so many core mechanic problems. They're just ruining the game for me. It really wouldn't have been that bad, the lack of enemy variety, because there's a ton of different traps, and the maps are all designed differently, like the routes change and stuff like that, so it wouldn't have been that big a deal. I still could have had some fun out of it, but too many problems. Just way too many problems. Let's see. Reviewers gave it a 7, actually about an 8, and the users gave it about an 8. I am way off of that. They are way too forgiving of this game. I'd give it about a 4, maybe. Yeah, about a 4. Because it's not even average. There's just too many problems. Too many problems. And I really wanted to like this game. Let's see. Miasmata. Miasmata, right? There we go. Miasmata. Miasmata is Oblivion or Morrowind or any other game that wanted to be Oblivion or Morrowind without all the other components. All you do is you wander around an open world, you pick up flowers, gather flowers, bring them back to a hut, and then you see this little canned animation where they turn them into a potion. That's the game in its entirety. It's literally the gathering component of Oblivion without everything else. There's only one enemy in the entire game. It's this really weird demonic looking wolf thing, and it is really strong, and you can't kill it. It's invincible, which sounds dangerous, but the problem is it's extremely easy to escape from. It's stupid. Fundamentally, its AI is ridiculously retarded. It never caught me once. In the time I played the game, I ran into it 3 times. It never once caught me. Didn't never even come close to catching me. And it just makes the game a joke. The whole game basically boils down to you're wandering around looking for flowers that you can bring back and turn into potions. That's it. That's the entire game. Maybe that's fun for some people. I don't know. It was boring me out of my mind. I didn't have much patience for that in Oblivion and Morrowind, just running around flower picking to make potions. I did it, but it was a necessity. It was something I needed to be able to do the rest of the game. You know, I needed potions. I needed to be able to stay alive. So it had a purpose. Here it doesn't have a purpose. It's just for the sake of itself, you know? So yeah, I hated Miasmata. Could not stand this game. It also had a couple of other irritations. They've got this really weird movement system where if you're on any kind of incline, you have a chance to slide. You lose your footing, which sounds like a cool idea if this was like a mountain climbing game, or if it only happened on really steep surfaces, that would kind of make sense. But no, it happens all the damn time. All the damn time. I mean, if you're walking on rocks near the water, you slide. Or if you're walking on like any kind of incline with dirt, you slide. It's really irritating. It was supposed to add tension whenever the monster's chasing you. You're running away, and whenever you're running, you have more chance to slide, slip, whatever. All it does is, the other 99% of the game, you almost never see the monster, by the way. The other 99% of the game, it's just an irritation. You know, you're trying to get somewhere quickly and you're constantly sliding and falling all over the place. It's really annoying. I cannot stress that enough, how annoying the sliding mechanic is. And triangulation was a cool idea, but it becomes extremely tedious really quickly. The idea is you're using fixed points to triangulate parts of the map so you can reveal it, so you can, you know, clear your map so you can see where you're going and where you've been and all that. But in reality, the old system where you find a place and it clears itself on the map is so much better. Triangulation, like I said, it's a cool idea, but it just becomes tedious. You always have to go to the 3 points or find the little known locations, like big headstones and stuff like that. You have to find them and then clear the area near them to triangulate 2 other points that you can see. You have to actually see them. They have to be known locations, like I said, like big stone heads or huts or whatever. It just becomes tedious really quickly. I was hating it. I couldn't stand it. It's a chore, you know, it's a time sink. That's all it is. There's nothing fun about it. It's the bottom line. There's nothing fun about this game, would be the bottom line. I mean, all the elements are just irritations. They're nuisances, you know? Who builds a game like that? I don't know. I don't know who this game is made for. People who like to be annoyed? I have no idea. So yeah, I hated Miasma. Hated it. If it was like fundamentally broken as well, if like, you know, the core gameplay was broken or, you know, it stuttered all the time or, you know, had, you know, core gameplay problems, I'd probably give this a 0. But it doesn't. Fundamentally, you know, it works. The gameplay works. It's just not fun. So I'll give it about a 2. We'll give it a 2 out of 10. That's the best I can do for a game that functions but isn't fun. This game is not fun. Not for a moment. Not for a single moment while playing this game was I having fun. Not for a nanosecond was I having fun. There is no fun to be had here. At least not for me. So yeah, that was all the bad. Kind of a short bad list for this one. We'll move on to the mediocre, which there's going to be quite a bit of. Let's see. Insect Armageddon is the subtitle. Yeah, there we go. Let's see. Earth Defense Force, Insect Armageddon. If you didn't play the first Earth Defense Force, I'm not surprised. It flew under the radar. No one really noticed it. It wasn't a big flashy game. And it was basically really low budget. But I had a blast with that game. It's very, very simplistic. You have a dodge move. You have guns. You have like a loadout, multiple guns. I think you can carry 3 at a time if I remember right. And it's just you against a metric ton of enemies. Once you crank that game up, the original, once you crank it up to Inferno mode, oh my god. There's hundreds and hundreds of these giant, massive alien monsters. There's either ants or tarantulas or robots or flying laser beam craft things. But the thing is, there's hundreds of them. They're everywhere. And you have to take them all out and somehow survive. It is ridiculous. That game on Inferno is ridiculous. It took me quite a while to beat every map on Inferno. And a lot of those wins came from just dumb luck. Because that game gets brutal. But it's fun. That kind of difficulty in and of itself is fun. I mean, some people don't like that. Some people don't like really hard games. I love really hard games. I beat the hell out of Earth Defense Force. It's like Earth Defense Force 20XX, whatever the numbers are. But I had a blast with that game, unlocking all the weapons. When you kill something, you have a chance to get an upgrade for your, I think it's called defense, but it's basically your health. You have a chance to get an item drop, a weapon, or you have a chance to get points or something like that. But every time you kill something, those drops happen. And, you know, it's addictive. Collecting everything. Collecting all the weapons in the game is addictive. And beating the Inferno mode levels is really, really addictive because they are hard. You beat the first few of them in that game and they become brutal. They become just downright unfair. There's so many of them and they take so long to die. There'll be like 50 of them on screen at once. And you'll have like the best weapon you can have at the time. And it'll take like 10 shots from a rocket launcher to kill one of them. I mean, that game gets ridiculous. But as simplistic as it was and as terrible as the graphics are, they are god-awful. That game was a blast. It was, like, from start to finish. I was loving it. This game, on the other hand, Earth Defense Force Insect Armageddon, the sequel, it doesn't have the same magic. It has the same basic gameplay. There's a lot of big alien monster things. You're still somewhat one guy. They've kind of ruined that, but you're still a soldier with a loadout, and you're dodge rolling around trying to not get hit while blowing up the monsters. And when you kill them, you get loot, and the core is there. The core of what made the first one good is there, but it has problems. The first one is it's not as hard. Even on the hardest difficulty, it's not as hard as the first game. Which leads into the second problem. It's co-op. By the nature of being co-op, it's going to make the game easier. And it does. I played it co-op with 4 people, and it made it a joke. The game is so much easier. And the third problem, you can be revived. Oh my god. In the first game, when you died, it was over. You know, your life was your life. That's it. You die, you lose the map. Here you've got up to 4 people, and they can revive each other. Oh my god. So what made the original great, the difficulty, is just out the window. It's gone. It doesn't exist anymore. They also added this needless class system into the game, where each of the 4 classes has like one unique thing, and then they segmented the loadout. Like the fast guy, the guy that moves really fast, he has these little jump jet things that let him fly for a really short amount of time. He's basically set to long range weapons, so he can't use shotguns and stuff like that. And then the heavy can't. He's the opposite. He can only use the short range stuff. He gets this little smash attack thing where it does damage around him in an area on a cooldown. This game didn't need a class system. You did not need to segment the loadouts. You know, I mean, I loved being able to pick from all the weapons in the first game because there's so many of them, and you can customize your loadout however you want depending on the maps, and depending on what enemies were on the map. You can't do that here. I mean, it's stupid. It was needless. It had no place. It had no place. The only reason they did it is because they wanted co-op. But co-op in this game was stupid. It's just dumb. If you don't care about the difficulty, if you just want a co-op game where you get to blow up a lot of stuff, then sure, you might love this game. But that's not what I wanted. I wanted the difficulty from the first game. I wanted it to be brutally difficult. I wanted to get my ass handed to me. Constantly. Because whenever you finally beat those Inferno missions, it's amazing. You know, you feel like a badass when you finally complete them. But yeah, they basically, they didn't know what they had as far as I'm concerned from the first game. This is a completely different game. It's not made for the same type of gamer, you know? It's not made for the people who liked the first game. It's something else entirely, so whatever. I was disappointed. Having said that, it's not a bad game. I'd say I'd give it about an average, like maybe a 5, maybe slightly above average, 5.5. I did have some fun with it, but it's not the first game. It's not even close. So yeah. What did they give it? They gave it a 7, and the users gave it an 8. See, the users probably liked it, which I can't hate on them for it. They probably liked it for a completely different reason than I don't like it. You know, like I said, they just wanted a co-op game where they, you know, go around and breeze through it and blow up stuff. Okay, that's fine. You know, that's what they wanted. It's just not me. I hated it. I hated it for what I wanted it to be. I try not to do that. I try not to dislike things for just because of my expectations of what they should be. But in this case, I just couldn't. I couldn't. I really had to hate it. Let's see. A Good Day to Die Hard. It is by far the worst Die Hard movie. But, having said that, I'd agree with the users. I'd give it about average. I still wouldn't say it's bad. It was still a Die Hard movie. Still had Bruce Willis doing his thing, going around being the unlikely superhero that he is, you know, dodging bullets by the truckload, and just being a badass. I mean, it was every other Die Hard movie at its core. It just wasn't as good. You know, the other elements weren't there. It also had the worst villain by far and away the worst Die Hard villain. Usually the Die Hard series has memorable villains. Like, my favorite was Simon from With a Vengeance, with his rhymes and his just constantly fucking with Bruce Willis, John McClane, just constantly fucking with him. I loved Simon. But all the villains, all of them, were really good for all the Die Hard movies, except for this one. He's not memorable. He doesn't do anything interesting. He's just there. He's just stereotypical villain guy who wants to do bad to get money. You know, he's not even a diehard villain at all, which is really disappointing. Bringing in his son out of nowhere was really stupid. I don't know why they did that. We've never heard from him before. We'll probably never hear from him again. I highly doubt he'll be in the next movie. He's just there. He's just someone to be the counterpoint for John McClane. Someone for him to interact with. That's all he is. And he doesn't add anything to the movie. He's really lifeless. His personality's just boring. He's not doing anything interesting. But having said all that, it's still a Die Hard movie. Things still blow up. There's still action set pieces. Bruce Willis is still being a badass. So I didn't hate the movie. It just wasn't as good. It wasn't on par with the other ones. I think I'd give it about... Actually, about the user score. About a 5. Probably. About average for an action movie. Let's see. Is there anything else I want to say about this? I think that was it. Yeah, overall the worst Die Hard movie. So yeah, I don't know, I'd still recommend watching it because it's still a Die Hard movie. It's just not as good. It's not, that's it. It's just not as good. Let's see. Nier. Nier was an interesting game. When I first saw it, I thought it was going to kick ass. It's made by Square Enix. It has a really weird mishmash of gameplay elements. It's got 2D sections, top-down sections, 3D, not 3D, whatever you want to call it. It's got like adventure mode. It's got kind of bullet hell-esque gameplay elements. It's just all over the map. It's got puzzles. It's everything. It's all kinds of genres all mishmashed together. And I was like, okay, that could either work really well or fail really hard. And I was wrong. It's just mediocre. The game didn't fail and it's not amazing. It's just kind of eh. You know, it's something that was a game once, and I played it. That's really it. The puzzles are a joke. It won't take you a nanosecond to figure them out. It'll take you a couple of seconds, and you'll know exactly what you need to do. The battles are a joke. There are no hard ones. The bosses break down into 3 different attacks. They either have a smash attack, where they take whatever kind of representation of arms they have, depending on the boss, and they smash down. Does a little shockwave, you jump over the shockwave. They have laser beams. It's like some developer had a fixation with laser beams. He made this, you know, laser beam thing for the game and then gave it to every fucking boss. But yeah, they shoot little laser beams, you gotta jump over them. And then the third kind, the most common, are these little orbs. This is the bullet hell-esque stuff. They shoot out these orbs and you have to dodge them. Or jump over them or hit them or whatever. All the bosses in the game break down into those 3 attacks. The smash, the laser, and the orbs. And it just becomes disgustingly repetitive. And none of them are hard. That's the worst part. Not a single one of them was difficult. At all. I don't even know if I had to... I don't think I had to repeat a single boss in the entire game. Not one. So, yeah, they're all a joke. The battles are a joke. The puzzles are a joke. The story is kind of hit or miss. It drags in places. Oh my god, does it drag in places? There's huge stretches where nothing happens in this game. Nothing happens at all. And then you'll get like this burst of activity where there's story scenes and something happens with a character and, you know, something interesting, but then it just drags again for a huge segment of the game. And, what else? I'm trying to think. There's other things that weren't great about this game. Hold up. Let's see. Oh, it had great music. I meant to mention that, but yeah, the music kicked ass. Really, really, really good. 10 out of 10. It's Square Enix. They're really good at making good music, but this one stood out. Really, really good music. Let's see, what else? Forgive me while I read. I try to write things down so I don't forget it all. Yeah, easy battles. Stupid boss design. Oh, the side quests. Oh god, the side quests. These side quests were so bad, they give the original Assassin's Creed a run for its money. Which I didn't even think was possible. They're boring, which is just the golden rule for side quests. If you're going to make them, don't make them boring. Because then, who the hell's going to do them? You know, they're obviously optional. And if they're boring, what's the point? But yeah, they were boring as hell. They took too long to complete. Way too long to complete. A lot of running back and forth and all this other irritating garbage. And they just weren't fun at all. They were, so I ended up skipping almost all the side quests because the first like 5 or so that I did, the one where you're racing the boar or whatever, stupid as hell. The one where you're fishing, stupid as hell. The one where you got to go on the fetch quest early on in the game, stupid as hell. They were all crap. They were terrible. They were the epitome of bad side quests. This is how you don't do side quests in games. They were bad. Let's see, what else? I think the only bright spot for this game is that it didn't stutter for me. There was no frame problems. There was no technical issues. And I liked Kaine. Her character was pretty cool. She has her own tormented past. And usually the guy is the reckless one. But no, Kaine is just... She'll go balls deep at any given moment. She'll rush into anything. And she curses all the time. And I just love her personality. She was cool. And her character changes throughout the game, too. So, she was probably the one bright spot in Nier. I didn't like the dynamic between the father and his son, Yona, or whatever. His daughter, Yona. It just became a chore. You're constantly going back to see Yona, but it's always the same thing. She's sick. Oh no. Oh, it sucks she's sick, and then you leave. You come back. Oh, she's still sick. Oh, I'm sorry you're still sick. I'm sorry, Dad, that I'm sick, and then he leaves again. It's the same damn thing throughout the entire game. Nothing meaningful happens between them until, like, the very end. So, yeah, Nier was a mess. But at the same time, having said that, with everything being easy as hell, and with all the problems that it has, it's still a Square Enix game at its core. It still functions. You know, it's still mildly addictive. You know, going through the dungeons and seeing what you're going to run into and seeing what crazy enemy designs they're going to throw at you and stuff like that. It may not be hard, but I still had a bit of fun with it. I still made it all the way to the end of the game, even though this game drags like a mother in places. I mean, huge spaces of gameplay where it just drags. But, yeah, overall, I don't know. What would I give it? I'm going to try not to be generous on this one because I probably shouldn't. I'm going to say average, maybe slightly above average, considering average these days is pretty crap. The average for average these days is pretty crap. I'd say a 5.5. We'll give it average, but we'll give it that extra 0.5 just for Kaine. Yeah, we'll give it a 5.5 just for her. So, yeah. Let's see, Nier Sleeping Dogs. Sleeping Dogs. Okay. Sleeping Dogs was pretty damn good for an open world game. The original Grand Theft Auto, the original open world Grand Theft Auto, not the Super Nintendo one or whatever the hell it was. The original open world, you know, Grand Theft Auto created the Grand Theft Auto genre, basically. That game was really damn good. Really addictive, really fun. It had fun with the characters. It was something new. There was nothing like it. And it just kicked ass. The second one was probably my favorite. Vice City was probably my favorite. It had better music. It had more of the same. It had really interesting, funny characters, and things happened, and you know, it was more like Saints Row than it was like the newer Grand Theft Autos. The old Grand Theft Autos were more Saints Row than they were Grand Theft Auto these days. And it was fun. It was a blast. Then the third one, where they went all gangsta, it had a great soundtrack, but the rest of it was shit. Who the fuck wants to go and pump weights to increase your stats? Or run on a treadmill to not get fat? You know, do these stupid things that are just a chore. That's not fun. I mean, running around with a flamethrower, you know, burning people alive. That's fun, you know, or going on a killing spree with a car, seeing how many people you can run over before the cops stop you. That's fun, stuff like that. That's the fun of the game. They just keep adding in these, like, real-life simulation stupid bullshit chores. And the new one, Grand Theft Auto, what is it? Let's see, I think the original was 3. So Vice City V4, 5, so it's 6, I guess. Grand Theft Auto 6. Was garbage. I hated it. Constantly calling your fucking friends so they don't hate you, and doing the stupid escort mission bullshit, and, you know, all the just menial garbage in that game sucked the fun out of the series for me. in every way. Just, like, literally drained the life out of the series for me. Sleeping Dogs is the exact opposite. This game has a lot of fun packed into it. The side quests, the side missions are a blast. Like the karaoke and all that stuff. It's all fun. You know, it's not there to be a chore. It's there to entertain you, which is the way it should be. And I loved the combat system. The hand-to-hand combat system. In Grand Theft Auto, basically you had a punch button, and that was really it. Here you have combos, you have special moves, you have dodges and counters, and all kinds of cool stuff. It's a blast to get in hand-to-hand combat in this game. And it's really fluid, and it works really well, and all the moves have their place, and they're really flashy, and they look really badass. And it's just fun. Just bottom line. The gunplay was okay. It wasn't broken, but it wasn't great. They didn't really do anything with it. But there was nothing wrong with it at the same time. The driving was, again, it was okay. There was nothing really great about it. Nothing really stylish. All they really did with it was there was some racing missions, and then some of the other missions you might actually be driving somewhere, you know, getting away from someone or whatever. It's the same thing you've seen in Grand Theft Auto for forever now. They didn't really do anything new with it. But it worked. It functioned. You know, the cars handled decently well, and they got you from point A to point B, so really didn't have any complaints. The story was good early on when he was more conflicted about being, you know, a cop versus a Yakuza. They kind of threw that away the farther you got into the story, but it was okay. The ending was decent. There wasn't great character development between the characters. There were too many of them. They spread it too thin, and some of them just kind of fall off out of nowhere and you never see them again, stuff like that. It was mainly about the main guy and his handlers and whoever his boss is at the time, whoever he's taking orders from. And everyone else got really little screen time for the most part. But having said all that, the game was fun. The missions were fun. The side quests were fun. The combat system was fun. Everything about it was entertaining, you know? I think it may have outstayed its welcome a little bit by the time I got to the end, but, you know, it was worth playing. Let's see, what would I give it? Maybe a 7? About there. About a 7. Open world games like this, it's definitely one of the better ones. I'd say either the Grand Theft Auto 3, the original open world Grand Theft Auto, or the original Saints Row, or not even the original, the second Saints Row, were probably the best. The original Grand Theft Auto 3 because it created the fucking genre, and Saints Row 2 because it was a blast. Oh my god. The amount of fun I had with that game is just amazingly disproportional to anything else I've ever played. for the most part. It was just a blast. That game ramped everything up to 10, you know, to 100, to 1,000, whatever you want to call it. That game was so good. This one wasn't quite Saints Row 2, but it had fun. I had fun with it. It had fun moments. So yeah, I liked Sleeping Dogs. Let's see. Into Darkness. Into Darkness. The new Star Trek sequel, reboot sequel. A lot of people are hating on it. A lot of people hated on the reboot, the original Star Trek reboot. A lot of people are hating on it compared to the Star Trek reboot, the first one in this series, whatever you want to call it. I didn't hate either one of them. I thought the first one was a fun ride, had great action sequences, set-piece moments. The characters weren't annoying. Yeah, they were trying to be the old Star Trek characters, but what the fuck do you expect? They are supposed to be the old Star Trek characters. They're going to act like them. They're going to do the same shtick. If they did something new, you'd bitch that they weren't like the old characters. So yeah, they have to. The only character I didn't like was Kirk. Kirk was a bit too much of a D-bag for me in his personality. He's just... didn't like him much. But all the other ones I liked. And in this one... big spoiler, I suppose. There's going to be spoilers in these videos. There are always spoilers in my rant videos. I always say that, but I'll say it anyways. Spoilers. Kirk dies in this one, which was amazing. I loved it. Kirk died horribly. He had this great death scene where he does what Spock did previously. He goes into this irradiated area in the warp core, and he has to fix this misaligned thingamajigger, whatever the hell it's called. I don't know. He has to push it back into place so the entire crew doesn't die horribly. And he does, and then dies of radiation poisoning directly afterwards. And I was like, yes! Thank you! He like died, he died horribly, and Spock had his emotional moment where they're like, oh, we're friends, and he's all crying and all this crap. But yeah, it was great. I was hoping that they had the balls to actually kill him. Imagine if you did a reboot of Star Trek and you killed off Kirk. For real. As in gone. As in dead. As in not coming back. I would have given them so much props. I would have been hysterically laughing in just sheer awe of how awesome they are. But no. Nope, Kirk dies and then comes back a whole 5 seconds later. They have this super soldier formula thing. They inject him with it. And of course he comes back. Good as new. Perfect. You know, happy-go-lucky. So annoying. But they had that moment where he died horribly, and I loved it. So I can't hate him too much. Another great thing about this one is, more than the first one out of the reboots, it gave everyone their moment. Everyone had their moment to shine. Chekhov saves the crew. Scotty saves the crew. Spock gets to fight the big bad instead of Kirk. He gets to fight, spoiler, Khan is the bad guy. He gets to fight Khan at the end of the movie. Even the new one, Alice Eve, the Admiral's daughter, who everyone said is there just to get naked. No, she had her moment too. Everyone in the movie, out of the main cast, had their moment to shine, which is really cool. I think the only one who didn't was Zoe. Uhura. Uhura didn't really do anything in this movie, now that I think about it. Her only purpose was she's pissed at Spock because Spock isn't afraid to die, or he's not emotional about he might die or something like that, whatever. It's ridiculous. She's pissed off at him, and then later on he's like, well, I don't want to show emotions because my planet was destroyed, you know, and that would have, you know, blah, 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 whatever. He doesn't want to get emotional because of that, and she forgives him. That's her purpose in the story. She doesn't do anything else at all. She's not a part of the story at all. She's just in the background. Oh, I'm sorry. Earlier on in the movie, when they run into the Klingons for the first time, she's like, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to talk them out of it or whatever. Talk them out of killing us because I speak Klingon. She fails horribly. She gets like 3 lines and then they try to choke her to death. So she didn't really accomplish anything throughout this movie. Which is, I don't know if it's a bad thing. They should have given her something. They gave everyone else something. She should have done something effectively. Added something to the story, but oh well. Let's see, was there anything else I wanted to say? Scotty to the rescue, that kicked ass. Scotty actually gets fired. Kirk fires him. And then he gets blitzed out of his mind, and Kirk calls him, and he needs him to save them. So he comes to the rescue, which kicked ass. He goes all commando style and breaks into their ship, and he's all sneaking around, sabotaging stuff. That was pretty cool. Let's see. Yeah, I think that's really it. I can't think of anything else. It had great set pieces. Not as good as the reboot. The reboot had some really, really cool scenes. This one, it was mainly just the fight scene at the end with Khan and the Klingon scene where Khan shows up and he's just super soldier badass, blowing everyone away and, you know, not even trying, and he's invincible, that kind of thing. Those are really the only 2 good fight scenes throughout the movie. So, yeah, if you're going in just for the action, probably worse than the reboot, the original reboot, but still pretty good. Let's see, they gave it about a 7, about an 8. I'd probably give it about a 6, slightly above average. I think these 2 are probably too high. I'd give it about a 6 for the amount of enjoyment I got out of it. Let's see, The Call. The Call I talked about in not the last rant, but the one before that for last month. April, I think. I think it was in April. But The Call has... Where the hell is it? What the hell? Oh, there we go. Yeah, Halle Berry. Okay, The Call has Halle Berry in it, and she's a dispatch operator. She gets a call from this girl who's being captured, taken, whatever you want to call it, by a psycho guy. Bad person. Bad people are bad. He's taking her, and she tries to talk her into saving herself or whatever. You know, tries to advise her as a dispatch operator should do. Fails horribly. The girl gets taken and murdered. And then sometime later, she's still there. She's still on duty. And another call comes in, and it happens to be the same guy. He's taken another girl, and she has to help the new girl and try not to fail this time. And she's got all this anxiety because she basically got the first girl killed. What happened is, spoiler, the first girl, the phone cut out or something like that, and the girl was under the bed, and she told the girl to open the window or something like that so the guy would think that she left, she escaped. So he sees the window, he goes to leave the house, right? The phone cuts out, and she calls her back, and the phone rings, and the girl picks it up. So as the guy's leaving the house, he knows that she's still in the house. So she basically got the girl killed, the first one, and she's obviously hates herself for it. The second time around, with the new girl, she doesn't want to make the same mistake, and she wants to save her, and blah, blah, blah. And it goes on mostly through him having her in the trunk, and then it goes to him having her in his basement, or whatever the hell it is, like this basement area out in a field. And Halle Berry does pretty good in this movie. She's believable. When she should be, self-loathing, that kind of thing, she is. And you can tell that she's physically there with the girl, emotionally. She's emotionally there with the girl in her plight, even though she's just talking to her over a headset. It's a pretty damn good movie. It works. It was better than I expected it to be by far. That's for damn sure. It also has a really damn good ending. Spoilers. At the end of the movie, he has the girl in the basement, right? And Halle Berry, on a whim, just goes back to the last place they saw him, or where they thought he was going to be. They never found, the cops didn't find him. She goes back there to look around for whatever reason, and she accidentally finds the basement. She finds where the guy is. She drops her phone like a dumbass down the stairs into this little cellar area, and instead of going down there and picking it up, walking straight the hell back out, it's like, I don't know, a 2-second trip back up the stairs to get a cell signal or whatever. No. She drops the thing down there, and instead of going back out to call for help, she decides to take the dude on her own. Oh my god. I was like, lady, really? Really? This is quite possibly the worst choice you could make in this situation. But anyway, she goes down there, she wanders around, she finds the girl, she rescues her, so to speak, but the bad guy shows up and kicks the shit out of her, just beats the crap out of Halle Berry, slinging her all over the place, and he's about to drown her in a sink, and the girl somehow got free, shows up behind him and knocks him out, clocks him. Which, basically, it was really cool. Halle Berry came to save the girl, but the girl saves Halle Berry. So it's reversed. She didn't even get to be the hero at the end when you think about it. Her redemption really never came. She didn't get to be the big hero at the end, which is kind of cool. But at the very end, after that, you think maybe the cops would show up and they'd arrest him and take him away, blah, 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 stock ending. No. The scene goes black, and it comes back in with them standing in front of him and him tied to the chair. And that you can tell, like, the look in their eyes, they have ill intentions planned for this guy. I was hoping by the end of the movie, for how evil this guy is, they just, like, rip his toenails out and, set his nuts on fire, something truly disgusting. What they end up doing is they end up locking him in the cellar and just leaving. They padlock the door, so there's literally no way he can get out. No one knows about this place other than him and the two girls, Halle Berry and the girl she wanted to rescue. So they basically lock him in there to die from starvation. So if you think about it, that is pretty terrible. He's in there long enough to basically, it's psychological torture. He knows he can't leave. In there long enough to shit himself and die slowly of dehydration. So, yeah, that's pretty terrible. But it was a good ending. I liked it. He got what he deserved. He did. It wasn't that, canned, lame-ass ending where they win, they call the cops take him away, and he goes to jail, and blah, blah, blah. Everyone's happy-go-lucky, hunky-dory. It was pretty cool. Plus, like I said, the dynamic between Halle and the girl, you could tell that she was acting her ass off in this movie. She really was. So, it was good. I liked the call quite a bit. Way, way more than I thought I would. I don't even like Halle Berry, but she was pretty damn good in this. So, yeah. 5, that's definitely too low. I don't know how high I can go with it. Maybe like a 6 or a 7. Yeah, about where the users have it. About a 6 or a 7. Definitely not bad, but not amazing at the same time. It was a fairly well retread of old stories. I've seen this done before many times, where someone's captured, they've got to call someone, and the person on the phone's got to try and help them. It's been done in tons of movies. I'd say this is probably the best example of it, except maybe Taken. Taken kind of did that, although the whole movie wasn't about that. He wasn't on the phone the whole time talking to her throughout the whole movie, but it kind of had that element in it. This isn't Taken. Taken was damn good, but this was a good movie for what it was. So, and definitely better than I expected it to be. Let's see. Let's move on to the unequivocally good stuff. We will start with I Am Alive. This game surprised the hell out of me. I did not expect anything from this game at all. Two things came together to make this game way better than it should have been. One, you have a stamina meter, and the entire game, like 99% of it, is you climbing on things. So you're climbing on things, your stamina runs out, you have this little burst of extra energy to try and make it to wherever you're trying to get when you run out of stamina, and after that, you just die. Which, in and of itself, would not have made this a good game if you have infinite retries. But you don't. You have limited retries. And you find retries as you're going. So, usually, you'll run out of them, and then just, like, a couple of moments later, you know, when you really need them, you'll find them. And it adds so much tension to the game. Because when you're low on retries, and that stamina meter is running out, and you're going to fall, this game gets intense. It has some really good moments. Plus, you never really know how far you're going to have to go. There's plenty of spots where you don't know where the next safe point is, where you're going to find, you know, solid ground to stand on. It's not obvious. And also, you're never really sure which pipe you should be climbing on. Sometimes you can look up at it and you can tell where you need to go, but sometimes you can't see where you're going. You know, you'll climb over something or off onto another ledge or around a corner, so you don't really know where you have to go, always. It's very intense. Probably the best game built around climbing I've ever seen. It's like Cliffhanger, basically, but with, you know, a city instead of mountains. You're climbing around this ruined city. But this game was way more effective than I thought it was going to be. It was good. It was really good. Like I said, if it didn't have the stamina meter, if you couldn't fall, if there was no way to run out of stamina and fall, or if there was no retries, it would have been a terrible game. But the two of them combined together, it makes this game really intense in places. Let's see, what else? They should have done more with the girl. You rescue a girl and you strap her to her back and carry her around with you and try to get her medicine and all this stuff. But she doesn't move much. She doesn't say much. She might as well be a backpack. She looks like a backpack because she doesn't move. She's got these ropes strapped around her and she's like sitting on her back and you forget she's even there. And as far as the story, they don't really do much with it. The story in this game is mostly non-existent. They could have done much, much more with it, but they didn't really try in the story department. The fights with the thugs, the scavengers or whatever, they can be really interesting. The problem with them is they don't change. You might fail it the first time, but then you know exactly what you need to do to succeed it. Very few times did it take me more than one or two tries to beat those sequences, but they're still kind of cool. They're either armed with melee weapons or they're armed with guns. If they're armed with guns, they're more than likely going to shoot your ass. So you have to deal with the gun guys first, and then if you have a gun and they have melee weapons, then they act accordingly. I mean, if you got like a knife and a guy's got a gun, you're not going to rush at him and try to stab him. You're going to be like, hey man, you know, don't shoot me please. I'm not going to hurt you. You know, that kind of thing. You're going to try and dissuade him from putting a bullet in you. And they do. It's actually kind of cool. And, you know, what you do in combat, they react to. Like, let's say there's three of them and they've all got melee weapons and you got a gun. If you go up and try to stab some guy, the other ones are going to try and jump you. You know, because you're not pointing a gun at them anymore. It's really interesting the way they did that. It's pretty effective. Like I said, the only problem is it doesn't change. Their reactions don't change. So once you've done it once, you know exactly what you need to do for that fight. So, in and of itself, it's okay. That element of the game was okay. If they reacted differently each time, that would have been badass, because then you wouldn't know what to expect. Or if their loadout changed each time, that would have been even better, because it would have been intense every single time. You don't know, you know, who has the gun, where they're gonna be, you know, how they're gonna react to your presence, all that stuff. Let's see, what else? Was there anything else I wanted to say? Oh yeah, whenever you're not climbing, whenever you're on foot, there's not much exploration to do, sadly. There are branching paths when you're climbing for the most part, and usually some of them are dead ends that are going to get you killed. But whenever you're on solid ground walking around, there's not much to explore. There's not much to find, which just kind of sucked. Which kind of sucked. They could have added like hidden areas or just something interesting, something worth exploring for. It didn't have to be like collectibles or any of that crap, but something. There really wasn't anything. Whenever you get on solid ground, it's basically point A to point B. That's really it, which is kind of disappointing. Overall, though, like I said, the climbing was just so damn good, and that's literally 99% of this game. 1% is you walking around and, fighting the thugs and talking to people, and all the rest of it is you climbing. And they knew what their strength was. They made the game, based on it. They made it really, really fun because of the systems involved, and it's just good. I had a blast with it. I way more entertainment out of it than I thought I was going to get. I'd say it's on the cusp of being great, so I'll give it about a 7.5. I'd say 8, 9, and 10 should be reserved for truly great things, so I'll give it about a 7.5. If the other elements were truly great, which none of them were, if it wasn't just based completely around the climbing, then I'd give it probably an 8 or a 9, but it's a one-trick pony. It does that one trick really, really good, but it's a one-trick pony, so I'll say it's just on the cusp of being great. We'll say a 7.5. Let's see, they gave it about a 6, so I'm definitely higher than everyone else. Although I'm close to the critics. They gave it about a 7, 6.5. They gave it about a 6, so I'm not too far off. I'm a little bit higher than everyone else. I'm a little bit more generous. What can I say? I'm a generous kind of guy. Let's see. Far Cry. Blood Dragon. This one I actually haven't finished. I got it a couple of days ago. I'm still playing it. From what I've heard, it's not very long. I've already freed all the compounds, and I'm working my way through the rest of the story. Got all the attachments. I've got most of the collectibles. I don't know what to say about it. Its core mechanics are really good. I like the gunplay. I like the guns. The enemy design is kind of crap. There's only really a couple of them. You either get the generic foot soldiers, which are 90% of the enemies. You get the fire guys who like to throw Molotovs, or you get the heavies. That's really it. There could have been way better enemy design. Their AI seems to blow ass. They like to run at you a lot. Just run straight at you. They don't flank very often, and even when they do flank, they don't do it very well. So, yeah, the enemy design's definitely a downer. But like I said, I like the guns, I like the attachments. It reminds me kind of Bioshock in that you can put these really crazy attachments on things. Like, you can put explosive rounds in your shotgun and your sniper rifle. I love the explosive rounds on the sniper rifle because it's basically just an I win button. You just stay really far away from the enemies, shoot them, explosion, a whole bunch of them die. Shoot another one, explosion, a whole bunch of them die. It's got really fun guns. It's also got a chain gun. Every single first-person shooter, bar none, needs to have a chain gun. It should be a requirement in, like, video game school. If you make a first-person shooter, you have to give it a chain gun. This game has a chain gun, and it feels really nice. It has a lot of punch to it. The main character, whenever you're firing it for any amount of time, he starts screaming at the screen. He's like, "Rah!" while the chain gun's going. It kicks ass. It's just, chain gun. You need a chain gun. Or minigun, or whatever you want to call it. You need one in every first-person shooter. It should be a law. They have a flamethrower. It's kind of wimpy, the flamethrower, but the reaction you get out of the enemies is really cool. You set them on fire, and it's not like some games where you have a flamethrower and they don't even notice. They have no idea that they're literally on fire. No, in this game, they lose their shit. You set them on fire, and they're like, ah, like running around in circles on fire. It's really good. What else? You get a bow, kind of like in Turok or the original Far Cry or any of those games. I didn't like it much because it's really hard in this game to use the sight. The sight is like these two little prongs. There's no real sight to it, and it has a lot of drop, a whole lot of drop over distance. Even out to medium range, it drops like a son of a bitch. So yeah, I didn't like the bow as much as I have in other games. but it was an option to do silent kills. I wasn't doing silent kills at all. You can be sneaky in this game. You can crouch and sneak around and backstab things, and you can like chain backstabs, which was kind of cool the first time I did it. You kill one guy with a backstab if there's no one nearby. You press the button again and you'll like zoom over to them and stab them in the back, and zoom over to someone else and stab them in the back. And at the end, you can get like a medium distance instant kill with this like shuriken thing. So you can do a lot of really cool stuff with instant killing. The problem was I just didn't need to. The enemy's AI is terrible. They're not particularly difficult, and you have so many badass guns that I went around killing everything with guns. Honestly, there's just no reason to do the sneaky stuff. There's no reason to use the bow. There's no reason to use your knife, or the shuriken, or any of that stuff. But it is there, I guess, if you want it. Some of the other cool things. Let's see. The blood dragons were kind of underwhelming. Their animations are cool in that they run around and eat things and shoot lasers out of their eyes and all this stuff. But they're really not there for the most of the point. I mean, if I could speak. Most of the time they're not around. They seem to be way too rare. For the game being named after them, I never see them when they would be useful. I mean, when I'm taking a compound, so many times I throw the little heart thing that's supposed to lure the blood dragons in. There's none of them there. I've freed all the compounds, and not once, except for the first one where I think it made me, where there was like a scripted event. All the other ones, there were never any blood dragons around, so I never got to use them. One of the side objectives, one of the side quest things where you unlock attachments, one out of probably 15 of them, there was one time there was a blood dragon around and I got to use them once. But there just wasn't enough of them. I mean, it seems like the only time I ever saw them was when I was out driving on an empty stretch of road. It's the only time I ever saw the blood dragons. Very irritating. I would have liked to use them, but they were never around. Let's see, what else? Anything else I wanted to say? Oh yeah, the main character is voiced by Michael Biehn, who's a badass. He's the guy from the original Terminator, Kyle Reese. He's awesome in this. His one-liners are really fucking funny. They're really, really good. And he always has one for everything. Killing someone, accepting a quest, turning in a quest, talking to someone, taking damage. He has them for everything. And they're fucking awesome. They're really good. Some of the quest dialogue, when they tell you what you need to do, are pretty damn funny too. And the hints, the tooltips, they're trolling you. They're trolling tooltips from other games. They're really funny. One of my favorite ones was like attachments. You put them on things, or something like that. They're really good. They're obvious, but they're really funny. This game has some really good humor in it. The gunplay was good. I don't know what else to say about it. It was overall a good game. I wish the enemies were better. If the enemies were better, if they put up any kind of fight at all, this could have truly been a great game. But they don't. They're terrible. The enemies are just laughably bad. Oh, the music. The music kicked ass. It was like a mix between Tron Legacy's Daft Punk soundtrack and like the original Terminator. You know, that dun dun, dun dun, like in the background. It was like a mix of the two, which was really cool. I liked it a lot. The soundtrack kicked ass. I'm going to have to download the soundtrack or something, because it was really good. I think that's probably it. Fun game. Just, you know, the enemies kind of sucked. That was the biggest downside of it. It looks nice. The gunplay is fun. The skill system was kind of stupid in that most of them are really dumb. Like, you can reload while looking down your sight. Or you can reload while running. Or, what are some of the other ones? They're all really stupid. Or you can move faster while crouched. You know, I mean, they're not interesting. They're not anything badass. They're just all really little piddly shit. So the skill system kind of sucked. The attachments were great. Like I said, there's a lot of really cool ones. The one that gives the shotgun quad barrels, and even better, the one that gives you explosive rounds, those both kicked ass. Once you get to the end where the shotgun's fully upgraded, it is amazing. It has like 5 times the ammo capacity, 4 times the damage, its shots explode, it's semi-automatic, whereas early in the game it shoots really slowly. At the end of the game, once you get that semi-auto upgrade, it's like, it's crazy fast. It's a beast by the end of the game. But yeah, fun game. I don't know what I'd give it, because I haven't actually finished it yet. Like I said, I've still got some of the story quests to go. I'm pretty close to the end, I think. I'd probably give it at this point about a 7. Probably. About a 7 for the amount of fun I've had out of it. Like I said, I'm pretty close to the end, I think, and I haven't been playing it about maybe like 4 hours so far total. So it's flying by. It's going really quick. It's probably going to be a big problem with it. It's probably too short, but for what it is, it was fun. Let's see. What did they give it? I didn't even look. They give it an 8. Holy crap. They gave it almost a 9. Wow. Holy shit. I would not have guessed that in a million years. Wow. So everyone likes it way better than I did. I didn't think it was bad. I just didn't think it was anything amazing. And I would reserve like 8, 9s, and 10s for something that's amazing. So yeah, I'd give it about a 7. A little bit lower than the average, I guess. Wow, look at this. 100, 10, 10. Holy crap. I don't think it's a 10. No, not even close. Not even slightly close. I've played games that are a 10. I've played quite a few games that are a 10 out of 10. No, that's really generous. Let's see. Fast and the Furious. Actually, I'm just going to go with that and see what they gave the original. Think about it. Fast and Furious. A 45? What? 6.7? That can't be right. Hold up. That cannot be right. Fast and Furious 6. Okay, that's the new one. Fast 5. Whoa, did I see that right? Holy shit. They give Fast 5 a higher rating than Fast and the Furious 6? I am astonished. I thought all the critics hated Fast 5. Wow. Holy shit, the users gave it a higher score. Mind blown much. Are you fucking kidding me? Spoiler for what's coming up when I start talking about Fast 6. It's way better than Fast 5. Way better in every way. Oh my god. Wow. I have no idea what's going on there. 45 for Fast and Furious. That cannot be right. Oh, this isn't the original? Wait a minute. It's been 8 years. Yeah, this isn't the original. Okay. Where the fuck's the original? Here it is. User score 8.8. There we go. This is the original. Yeah, the critics hated it, but the critics didn't know what they had. They didn't know what to expect. This movie was machismo incarnate. And, you know, the whole Brosa family thing and, you know, just racing cars. It kicked ass. For what it was a fucking amazing movie. If you expected more than what it was, you're an idiot. You should have known what this movie was about just from the damn title. But, yeah, the original kicked ass. I'm with the users. Fuck the critics. But, anyways, Fast 6. It is second best in the series. By far. None of the other ones even come close. And I like this series. Even the bad ones, I like this series. But this one was definitely the second best, far and away. The characters grow meaningfully. They have actual relationships. They're not just doing their, you know, macho bullshit talk. They actually, things happen and they have to deal with it. You know, and it was a great movie. The interactions were good. Most of the characters had something to do, had something to say. They weren't just there because, hey, I was in the other movies. Hi, guys. You know, I mean, they were there for a reason. Things happened to them. The story was pretty good. The villain was one of the better ones for Fast and the Furious, although that's not saying much. This series is notorious for having terrible villains. They're useless. They add nothing to the story. They're just kind of there to be punching bags. This one was one of the better ones in that he didn't really get in the way of the plot. He was pretty generic, but generic done well is good for this series as far as the villains go. So I actually liked him. The Rock didn't get in the way like he did in the last movie where he didn't get fuck tons of lines and, you know, he wasn't, hey, look at me, I'm The Rock, I'm Dwayne Johnson, I used to be a wrestler, all that shit. He didn't get as much screen time, which was way better than Fast 5. What else? I'm trying to think. Oh, they did the generic... One thing that did piss me off, they did the generic bad guy kidnaps family member X and you have to go save them thing at the end. That was kind of lame. Really uninventive. But if nothing else, this series knows how to do the big action, crazy, bombastic, badass scene. Better than any other series. This series knows how to do massively awesome set piece, scenes. And this one didn't disappoint. 5 didn't disappoint. 4 didn't disappoint. Tokyo Drift really didn't have one. It had a really cool race. I'll give it that. And it did the races really stylishly, so maybe that counts. The first one had the really badass scene early in the movie where Brian first races Toretto, and it had the badass scene at the end where it comes back around full circle and they race again to the train tracks. But yeah, this series, it knows how to do those badass scenes better than almost any other series I can think of, honestly. Let's see, what else? Is there anything else I want to say? Same characters. You get to develop their relationships, further, which is cool. Actually have relationships. Like, Toretto's kind of a mentor to Brian. Brian's kind of coming into his own now that he has his own family. What's the Asian guy's name? He gets his own thing with his girlfriend, which, spoiler, she ends up dying in the end. And, they get their own moments where he, he's, rescuing her and she's rescuing him. And in the end, she ends up rescuing him, but dies for it. So they had a really cool dynamic. Letty comes back. That's probably the biggest thing in this Fast 6, but it's in the trailer, so who cares. But Letty comes back. She's lost her memory. They try to win her over from the dark side, so to speak. And, spoiler, they're successful at the end. Letty ends up back with Dom at the end of the movie. But yeah, all the characters get their own little thing. Ludacris gets to make fun of a rich guy. Stuff happens. I liked this movie. That's the bottom line. Let's see, was there anything else? Yeah, shitty villain as always, but still the best for the series probably. Yeah, I think that's really it. I'd probably give it, again, about a 7. Like I said, I've always liked this series, and this is one of the better ones in the series. So yeah, I'd say about a 7. Let's see, what else? Hansel and Gretel. Hansel and Gretel. Hansel and Gretel kicked ass. Oh my god, wow. A 2. Okay, so yeah, I'm more with the users on this one. It had some really good action scenes. I loved the chemistry between Gemma and Jeremy Renner. I loved the supporting characters. Even the dorky guy who wants to be them. And the good witch was insanely hot. Oh my god. I don't know who she is, but she's a 10 out of 10. Easily. I was pissed that they killed her off. Spoiler. They killed off the good witch. That pissed me off. But anyways, the villain was, what's her name? What is her name? The chick from X-Men. She plays Phoenix. And I can't remember her name right now. But she plays the bad guy, and she does a decently well job. She's the maniacal evil witch who will eat children and shit. And the action scenes, I think I've already said this, but they kicked ass. They were good. They were really good action scenes. Really well choreographed. Jeremy Renner and Gemma were badasses. They're borderline superhuman in some of the stuff they do and some of the things they survive. But yeah, and the story arc was really good. They start out with mysterious past. They don't know what happened to them, what happened to their parents. All the questions that show up early in the movie are resolved by the end. They get to kill, the person that ruined their life. And people die. The good witch died, which sucked. I was angry. I was not happy face. And, good movie. I liked it. Obviously the critics hated it, but the critics can blow me. The users gave it about a 6. I'd say slightly higher than that. Maybe about a 6.5. Maybe a 7 if I'm feeling generous. Maybe. That's a lot of 7s, though, since the last 2 have been 7s. So, whatever. We'll give it another 7. Fine. It was good. I liked it. I had a blast watching it. I'll probably watch it again. Gemma she's becoming one of my favorite action actresses, stars, whatever you want to call it. She can do the action sequences and still be compelling otherwise. So yeah, I'm liking her quite a bit. So yeah, I think that's probably it for Hansel and Gretel. Lots of action. Oh yeah, the twist was a joke. wasn't even really a twist. You should have seen it coming by from a mile away. I liked the cast, all the cast, even the bit people, even the troll. I liked the troll too. He had his place. Oh yeah, and the ending. The ending, they team up with the kid that's like their biggest fan or whatever, and the troll. So it's Gemma, Jeremy, the dorky guy who wants to be them, and the troll, and they're a team at the end. That was really cool. It's a great setup for another movie, although given the score and the user score is not even that high, they probably won't make a sequel, sadly, but it would have been really cool to see what they did with that. Like, the dorky, nerd kid comes into his own, and the troll's a badass, and, he saves them or whatever. Stuff like that. Things could have happened from that. Anyways, let's see. Game of Thrones, Season 3. Let's see what they gave it. Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones, Game of Thrones. Looks like they're not breaking it down to seasons. Or I'm missing it. Anyways, I wasn't a big fan of the first season of Game of Thrones. I already talked about it in one of the other rants. I wasn't a big fan of the second season. I didn't even think it was better than the first. I thought the first was better than the second season. The third season is the exact opposite. I think the third season kicks massive ass. Important things happen to the characters, the main characters. They have things to overcome. They either do or they don't. People die. You get to know the main characters better, the main cast better. Their motivation's better. It's just all the good stuff. All of the good stuff happens in this season. This season actually ended for me fairly early. It's not even over yet, but in the 6th episode, I think it was, that could have been the end of a season. Really big moments happen. You learn interesting things about the characters, and that's not even the end. I mean, there's been 2 more episodes since that one, and it's not even over yet. The season's not even over yet, so yeah, really good season. I don't want to spoil much about it, because even if you hated the first one like I did, well, I didn't hate it, I just thought it wasn't great, and you thought the second season was just as mediocre, you should watch the 3rd season. Really cool shit happens. I don't want to spoil much of it, but I don't know what to say about it without spoiling it. I don't think there's anything I can say about it without spoiling it. Yeah, I don't want to say. This is one where I don't want to say much about it. This is one you should watch, because like I said, I didn't like the first season at all, and this one is just so much better. If the 4th season is as good as this one, I might actually have to stick with this series, because it's done a 180. It really has. Even the characters like Snow, for instance, where nothing happened to him at all. Everything about Snow in the first 2 seasons was mind-numbingly boring. Nothing happened with his character. In Season 3, he gets some really, really good story moments. Really good stuff. His arc actually goes somewhere. It's not a dead end anymore. And there's plenty of characters in the first 2 seasons that are like that. Like most of the kids, their characters weren't going anywhere. They were stale. They were just there. They were in the background. They were motivation for other characters. To go find the kids, or to keep the kids safe, or whatever. Now they actually have things happening to them that are interesting. So yeah, I like the 3rd season way better. Way better. Let's see. It's not actually over yet. Like I said, the season's not over yet, so I'm not going to score it. We'll just skip that. Let's see. Oh, right, yeah. Food. I try to throw in something of food each time, assuming there is anything. Stacks. Images. No. Chips. There we go. Okay. So, apparently it's made by Lay's. I didn't even know. But Lay's Stacks. I was a huge, huge fan of Pringles since they were released about a bazillion years ago. I know that's not a word. But way back when they were released, I was addicted to them, and have been ever since. Stacks are infinitely better. They're crunchier by far. They have 10 times the topping on them. They don't taste as greasy. They're not like soft like Pringles are. They've got a real good snap to them. They're just better in every way. I mean, every way you'd want a chip to be good, they're better than Pringles. The exact same thing. They have the exact same flavors. Sour cream and onion, barbecue, original, all that stuff. Cheese, cheddar, whatever the hell it's called. All that stuff. They're just better. If you like Pringles, these are unequivocally awesome. If Pringles are great, then these are amazing. I mean, and like I said, I've loved Pringles since they were released. I've been a huge fan of Pringles. Stacks are just better. You have to try them. If you like Pringles, you have to try these. Uh, Probably the biggest thing, like I said, is they just have way more flavor on them. Tons of times you'll get a Pringle chip, like a sour cream and onion Pringle chip, and there's nothing on it. It might as well be like the original one. There's almost no flavor to it. I haven't found a single chip out of any of the stacks that I've eaten where they aren't a flavor fucking explosion. There's not massive amounts of flavor on every chip. They're just better. Bottom line. I will never eat Pringles again, assuming that these don't like stop being made or whatever. As long as they continue them, as long as they continue to make them, I will always eat these because they're just that much better. So yeah, stacks, check them out. Let's see, Metacritic. Okay, so something very good and something very bad. For very good, we're gonna do my favorite football movie ever, Friday Night Lights. Why is Friday Night Lights my favorite football movie ever? And there's been a metric ton of them, and there's people that could argue this point until the end of time. There's been so many great ones. Friday Night Lights is great because the stakes are really high, and all the characters get just absolutely destroyed in the end. Spoiler, they lose. They lose horribly. Their whole season is riding on the championships, and they fail. They fall on their face. Which wouldn't be a big deal if this was like a funny sports movie where it's about, jokes and all that, or if their entire lives weren't riding on their football career, but they are. And they're just crushed at the end of the movie. This movie does not have a happy ending. This is not that movie. And all the actors are really good. The guy from Tron Legacy, his name's like Headland or something like that. I can't remember his first name. He's in this. He's really damn good. The guy who plays Miles, he's been in a lot of movies, a lot of B movies, but a lot of movies. He's really good. He's the one that's crushed the most. Because he really has no other way out. Football is his life at this point. And he's amazing. He's really, really good at football. But he gets some kind of Achilles tendon injury or something like that, and he's basically ruined. Actually, I think it was a knee injury. And he's ruined. He's destroyed. He's crushed at the end of the movie. You can see it. He's emotionally destroyed at the end of the movie. His life is basically over. And so many of the characters in this movie are like that. They have nowhere else to go. Football was their out of this small town. And they lose horribly at the end. The enemy team is bigger and stronger and faster, and they win like they probably would in real life. The bad guys win. So yeah, it was a really good movie. Let's see what else. Billy Bob Thornton is the coach. He's not doing his usual Billy Bob Thornton look on Billy Bob Thornton thing. He's actually trying here. And he does it really well. That fucking country and western singer guy's in this. Forgive me, I know nothing about country and western. Is he on here somewhere? I don't see him. Anyways, he's in this. He's the dad in this. Oh, this is this fucking series. This isn't even the movie. Huh. Is this the movie? No, I don't know what that is. Is this the movie? This is the movie. Billy Bob Thornton. Okay, there we go. Let's see. Cast. Details and credits. Oh yeah, Amber Heard is in this. She's quickly becoming the new Angelina Jolie. She's just there to get her tits out. That's really it. I hate to say that, but early in Angelina Jolie's career, that's why she was in movies. Amber Heard's the exact same thing. Actually, I had an argument with one of my friends. She thought that actresses have to do this. Some actresses have to do this to get well known, and then once they're well known, they can become real actresses. I think it's in their DNA. It's part of their personality. They don't mind getting naked and being known for getting naked, and they'll make money doing it, which is fine. I'm not down on them for that. If they don't mind being naked, on screen and getting paid for it, fine. That's super. But I don't have any delusions about it. I think that's why they're there. I think that's why they've chosen to be there. That's what they're getting paid for, and they know it. She thinks that no, they do that just to get well known, and then they'll become real actresses afterwards or something like that. I think that's bullshit. But yeah, she's quickly becoming the new Angelina Jolie. I mean, you look at her library of movies, and she's naked. She's at least topless in all of them. Some of them she's full on, naked. So, Let's see, where is the guy? Tim McGraw, there he is. That's the country and western singer. He's Headland's dad, and he's like this football star for this small town, and they have really good moments. Him and his son have really good moments throughout this movie. He basically wants his son to do what he couldn't. He wants him to be this huge football star and not throw away his opportunity, and they're constantly butting heads. Let's see, what else? Probably the most lackluster character was the quarterback. Usually he's the one that gets the most screen time, and he has, the biggest character moments and all that in football movies. No, he was bland in this movie. But everyone else was so good that it just didn't matter. I mean, Miles' character was great. His backup, the guy who replaces him, who catches a break because Miles gets injured and his life is destroyed. The guy who takes his place, he was pretty good. Who else? There's just really good characters in this movie. And like I said, the reason I like it so much, the reason it's my favorite football movie of all time, is because the ending is such a massive, unexpected destruction of these people's lives. It's not the happy ending that you always get in football movies, or at least most of them. At the very least, even when it's not a happy ending, they try to have, a happy ending after the bad shit's happened. This thing happened, but look on the bright side. That kind of ending. This movie doesn't even have that. It's just a bad ending. It's just terrible. It's like heartrending or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, really good movie. Really good movie. Oh, let's see. Something very bad. Speaking of Angelina Jolie, Cyborg 2. This was her first real movie, I guess. Oh, it's not even on here. Are you kidding me? Let's just put Cyborg on here. Oh, come on. It's not even on here. It's not even on here. It was a made-for-TV movie, but everything she'd done before that was complete crap. So this is really her first real break, you could call it. She gets her tits out. You're not surprised. Hopefully you're not surprised. But, it's one of the worst movies I've seen in a long time. I hadn't actually seen it until about 2 months ago. But yeah, it's terrible. It's no redeeming qualities, god-awful. The acting is bad. The story is a mess. The supporting characters are hilariously terrible. The action scenes are... They're like... my favorite one is late in the movie where Casey Jones from the first Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie fights the villain from pretty much every Kurt Russell movie. I can't remember what the guy's name is, but they're fighting each other in this like arena duel style thing where there's rounds. Someone is actually hitting the bell and there's rounds, and it's in this like abandoned alleyway where there's this giant industrial like airplane fan going in the background for no reason, and it's so cheesy. It makes no sense. It doesn't make any sense in the context of the movie either. But they're having this like fist fight battle thing, and the best part about it is they're all doing like Van Damme style flying roundhouse kicks and spinning back kicks to the face and stuff. They both think they're Jean-Claude Van Damme. There's no other way to put it. He has this style in movies where he does these like crazy acrobatic kicks and stuff, and they both think they're him. It's so much fun. They're like taking turns being Van Damme, spin kicking each other in the face. It's hilarious. But yeah, I mean, it's just bad. It's really bad. Even the sex scene where Angelina Jolie goes topless, it's still bad. It lasts like a couple of seconds. There's only one good shot, really, and it's just terrible. One thing is, even though you can tell she's old enough where she should not be growing anymore, they're very different in size from every other movie she's ever been in, which makes me think she got some kind of boob job or something, maybe? I'd never heard of that, but it sure seems like it. You look at her in this, and you look at her in, like, any other movie she's been nude in, there's been, like, 10 to 15 of them. Like, let's say Gia. You look at her in Gia, they're completely different. They might as well be a different person, how different they are, the size and the shape and everything. So, maybe she got a boob job? I don't know. I actually liked her better in this. They were smaller, but they looked better. They had, they looked nicer. I don't know, whatever. I'm not going to talk about her boobs anymore, I promise. But, yeah, it's a terrible movie. All around, it's a terrible movie. The first Cyborg, which no one ever saw, was a cult classic. It kicks ass. That movie, it has a really good story arc. Van Damme is the main character, ironically enough. And he tries to save the ones he loves early in the movie. And they all die horribly. I mean horribly. Except for one. She gets taken as a prisoner by this psychopathic, like, brick wall of a monster guy. He's ridiculous. He's got a whole army. And Van Damme's basically crushed. And he doesn't want to go on. And he's like half a man. He runs into this cyborg who is trying to take this cure to some kind of plague to this city where they're going to mass produce it. They're going to mass produce this cure to cure the world or whatever. And he's reluctant to even help her because he doesn't want to fail again. He failed protecting his family last time. He doesn't think he can keep her safe. But he ends up trying to save her throughout the movie. She gets taken. He saves her, that kind of thing. And it has extremely good fight scenes. It's a brutal movie overall. People die disgustingly, really, really badly. No one is treated with any kind of dignity at all in this movie. It has a great scene at the end where he finally fights the big Terminator-looking bastard, and that's a great scene. It's got really good martial arts. It's just good choreography. It's just a good movie, period. Great music. It's got that 80s, like, synthesizer badass music. It's just a great movie. The original Cyborg. Cyborg 2 has nothing to do with that movie. There's one scene in Cyborg 2 where they cut an actual scene out of Cyborg 1. You see a little snippet of Cyborg 1, but that's it. It has nothing to do with the story. It has nothing to do with the characters. It has nothing to do with anything. It just comes out of nowhere. And yeah, Cyborg 2. Extremely bad movie. Even though Angelina Jolie goes topless, it's for like a half a nanosecond. And if you want to see her topless, go watch Gia. She's topless throughout the entire fucking movie. Like from start to finish. So yeah, I mean, it's just bad. There's no redeeming qualities at all. It's bad even for a cheesy B sci-fi movie. Oh yeah, Jack Palance is in this. If you lived through the 80s or you've seen any movies in the 80s, he's always a bad guy. Always. Always. He was like a bad guy for half the action movies in the 80s. And in this movie, he's actually not a bad guy. In Cyborg 2, he's a good guy. He's like this radio personality who's, for the revolution and all this crap. He's actually a good guy. And in the end, he gets to suicide bomb the bad guy, which is kind of cool. So, yeah. Jack Palance was the highlight of this movie. And like I said, that fight scene where they both think they're Jean-Claude Van Damme doing the crazy kick moves and all that. So yeah, that was some really good. Friday Night Lights, my favorite football movie. I think my second favorite football movie would be The Replacements, which no one even saw. No one even likes. It's a Keanu Reeves movie where it's a comedy. They're basically gigantic failures. The real football players are on strike, so they call in replacements, and the replacement team are all a joke. They're really bad, but they have this really cool moment, like a third of the way into the movie, where they're in jail. The whole team is in jail, and this song comes on, and they're like singing and doing this musical routine, and they all come together, and it's their moment, and then they start doing semi-well. They're still bad, but they're not laughably bad. And in the end, they don't win in the end. Spoiler, but it's a really great scene for the movie, the last football game or whatever. But yeah, it's a really good movie. It didn't get any credit at all, but it's a really good movie. That scene where I will survive, oh, as long as I know how to live, I know I'll be something. I don't remember the end of it, but that scene was great, where they're in jail and that song comes on. If nothing else, like, YouTube that scene, that one scene, because it's just fucking amazing. But a really good movie. Did not get any credit. It's called The Replacements. But anyways, yeah, some really good, Friday Night Lights, some really bad, Cyborg 2. I think that's it for this second monthly rant. This will be the second rant for May. It's about to be April, but yeah. Second rant for May, why not? As usual, or at least for the last, I think 2 rants, I'll make a playlist and then link it. And then the playlist will have videos of all the things I've talked about. So you can check it out if you're lazy and you don't want to type it in yourself to see the different things I've talked about. Or if you're a really visual person and, you have to have something to look at, there you go. There'll be a playlist. But anyways, I'll see you guys next time. In that game, the rifle was just so damn good. But yeah, it was a really good game. I'll probably check out this new one because that Bound in Blood was so good. I've already forgotten what it's called. Gunslinger. Okay. Yeah, I'll probably check this one out. Although I just saw that it's arcade. That probably means it's stripped down as all hell. And has nothing to do with Call of War as far as like the series. So, I don't know. Now that I've seen it's arcade, I don't know. We'll have to see. Thunderwolves. I just looked this up 2 days ago. It looks interesting, but it also looks very, very simplistic. Doesn't look like there's much to it. It's kind of this top-down, you're in a helicopter, you're flying around. You don't control vertically, you don't control moving up and down, you just control side to side. And you basically, rotate around a city area and blow things up. It looks okay. I don't know, I'd have to try it. It looks like it also would wear out its welcome really quickly. Like I said, it doesn't look like there's much to it. It's just you've got like a machine gun, you've got some rockets, you fly around the city and you blow shit up. That could work, it just depends. I don't know. TV, yeah, Mad Men. Everyone knows about Mad Men by now. I wasn't loving it. I watched the first season and some of the other seasons and just wasn't really hooking me. But plenty of people I know love it, so what do I know? I have no idea. Behind the Candelabra. I have no idea. Is that Matt Damon? That kind of looks like Matt Damon. Although it's very small and blurry. I don't know. Orphan Black, haven't heard anything about it. Marin, haven't heard anything about it. Smash, haven't heard anything about it. I don't know about these last three at all. Laura Marling. Laura Marling has a really interesting voice. She sounds a lot like Norah Jones, that style. And she's got some good songs. I've heard a couple of her songs. I can't name them right now. I listen to too much music to memorize it all, but she's got some good songs. Mount Kimby, I've never heard of them. Coco Rosie, never heard of her. The Pastels. The Pastels are interesting. They've got like a... what is the word for it? Kind of like a little bit lower. I'd probably give it about a 4. But that's pretty close. This is way too high. This wasn't even Schwarzenegger. They could have replaced him with anyone. He wasn't trying. He was just going through the fucking motions. He wasn't... There weren't any great one-liners. He was half-assing it. There's no other way to put it. He was half-assing it. And Knoxville's in this. Johnny Knoxville from Jackass. They gave him a couple of decent lines that were so-so as far as how funny they were, but not enough. I mean, he should have been the spotlight. Him and Schwarzenegger, and he really wasn't. He was just another character. So, yeah, there weren't any good action scenes, except for, like, the very last one, the showdown, where all the bad guys show up. That one was okay. But, it wasn't a good movie, man. I mean, how do you fuck up a Schwarzenegger action movie? This is how. It's like he's not even there. It's like he's a zombie, just reading through his lines. I don't know, whatever. It wasn't great. Let's just put it that way. It wasn't great. And in case you're looking for a story, there's not one. It went nowhere. Bad guys show up. Schwarzenegger rounds up a bunch of retards. They group up and they fight the bad guys. That's the entire story. So, yeah. I'd say about a 4 from the dude. Let's see. Sang Freud. Sang Freud I really, really wanted to like. It's very rare that I anticipate a game. In fact, I actively go out of my way not to anticipate games because they almost always let me down. This is case in point. But, yeah, it looks like it had a really nice style to it. It had its own feel, its own charm, or whatever you want to call it, its own thing. And I'm really big into strategic games, and that's what this is. You set up traps, enemies funnel in from different areas, kind of like tower defense, but more traps than towers. And they funnel in, and you have to run around using your character to attack them and use the traps to defeat them. It's all about timing and positioning and all this stuff. It had a really cool concept. And like I said, the feel of the game was really cool. It's like set in Canada and sometime in the past, like in the 1800s or something. And it just alt-rock, but early alt-rock. like 80s sound to them, even though they're kids. They're two kids that are in the band. Really interesting sound to them. At the very least, worth listening to because they're not like everyone else. There's something different. Yeah, interesting. Tricky. The first time I heard Tricky was the song Overcome, which kicks massive ass. One of the few songs, like, I could list probably about 100 songs or so, maybe a little bit more, out of all the songs that have ever been created that I've listened to, where I can listen to them over and over and over again. There's maybe like 100, something like that-ish. This is one of them. Tricky Overcome. That song just kicks ass. I can leave it on repeat. And this new album, I checked it out, I want to say 2 weeks ago. The one that I ended up keeping off this album, the one I liked the best, was If I Only Knew. I think it's called something like that, but it's pretty damn good. The rest of the album is good, but it's not really memorable, or at least it wasn't for me. I didn't want to keep the whole album or anything like that. It's not that kind of album, but it had a couple of good songs. He's really good at like this smooth, slick thing. I don't even know how to describe it, where he's got really kick-ass vocals from, they're all female singers. I don't think he's ever had a male singer. But he follows a formula, but it's always a little bit different, and it's always, at the very least, good. Maybe not great, but it's all good. So yeah, you might want to check that out. Let's see, so that's all the new stuff. And on to the stuff I've actually tried. We'll start with the bad. The Last Stand. I didn't see this when it first came out because I had no interest. The only reason I watched it, I want to say like a week and a half ago, is because someone I knew wanted to watch it. This and the Stallone movie, what is it called? He's like this mobster hitman guy, and he's basically just out for revenge, killing a bunch of fucking people. He grabbed an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie and a Stallone movie, and he's like, let's compare them, versus that kind of thing. Stallone versus Schwarzenegger. Neither one of them were really that great, honestly. This is actually pretty correct right here, 54, about a 5. I'd give it... Alright, hello people, I'm the dude, and this will be my second monthly rant for May. I was out for 3 weeks or so it kind of piled up. I could have made it all in one video, but the video had been like 3 hours long or something. So I'm going to split it up into these 2 different videos for May. Let's see, we'll start with the new stuff again. Before Midnight, I looked it up. It's a chick flick with the lady from American Werewolf in London, which has a really great scene where she's trying to comfort the guy when she tells him he's a vampire by getting topless, straddling him, and letting him grope her. Really great scene, loved it. And I think Ethan Hawke is the guy in it. The guy from Gattaca, which is probably the only movie he's ever been in that I actually liked. I can't think of another one. But Gattaca kicked ass. Ethan Hawke, Jude Law, Uma Thurman. Really good movie. But yeah, this is a chick flick, and does not interest me. That'd be the bottom line. The East, I thought at first that was Emma Watson, but it's not. It looks like a made-for-TV B movie. The only real standout for this particular movie is the Juno girl. What the hell is her name? I've already forgotten. Ellen Page, that's right. She's also in that roller skating movie. A bunch of really weird movies that are kind of, I don't know how to describe it. They flew under the radar for most people, but for other people they were classics, hits, whatever you want to call it. So, there's that. Ellen Page is in this. Into Darkness, going to talk about that in the rant portion. The same for Fast and the Furious 6. The Hangover 3, so many people loved Hangover Part 1. I thought it was okay. I didn't think it was amazing by any means, not even close to amazing. And the second one I thought was just too much of the same. It had a couple of good jokes, but the rest of it was just retread garbage. And then this one, I have no interest at all in watching it in the slightest. I will not see this. Maybe when it gets to TV, when it's on like HBO or something and there's nothing else on, I might watch some of it. But yeah, thoroughly uninterested. Games, Velocity Ultra, probably some kind of rhythm game, never heard of it. Metro Last Light, I didn't really like Metro 20XX, whatever the hell the numbers were. It had a good atmosphere, and it had okay sound design, but that was really it. Didn't like the gameplay, hated the guns, they all felt weak. The enemies were lame, if I remember right, their AI was terrible. Uh, the characters really didn't go anywhere. There was a couple of them that stuck with you throughout the story, but they weren't overly interesting. They had a couple of good lines, but, you know, as far as characters go, they weren't that memorable. You know, I didn't like that one. And because this one is a direct sequel, as far as I can tell, it's just more of the same. I can guarantee you I won't like this one either. Metro 20, whatever the hell it is, got pretty damn good reviews, and I just didn't see it. I played it about, I want to say somewhere between halfway and three-fourths of the way through, and I just completely lost interest. The game was not sucking me in. I did not want to come back for more. And I probably played it way longer than I should have. Incredible Adventures of Van Helsing. I haven't heard of it. Haven't heard anything about it. Didn't look it up. I have no idea. Call of Juarez. Gunslinger. Bound in Blood was a badass game. Call of Juarez, Bound in Blood. Let's see what the score was for that. I'm curious. That game kicked ass. Really good gunplay. The enemies love to swarm you and surround you and attack you from different angles. The story was actually pretty good. It went places. The characters had growth over the story. They had conclusion by the end of the story. Things happened. It was fun. I liked it. I liked Bound in Blood quite a bit. The critics gave it about an 8. And it doesn't say what the users gave it for some reason. Let's see. They give it about an 8. Okay, so yeah, I'll go with that. About an 8. Yeah. Really good game. Plus you had the two different brothers, and they were constantly at each other's throat. They have, like, completely different views on what should be done, how things should be handled. I liked the ballsy, like, pistol-wielding brother as far as his personality, but as far as playing, I liked the one with the rifle, because range was amazing.